thank you all for being here and for the response to this. Welcome to the Stafford celebration 2021 that we're doing with the Milwaukie Poetry Series. It's a really wonderful thing that we're going to spend a couple hours with Bill's poetry and with each other. And really, it's, I think we all know that we'd like to be together. And we'd like to be out, we'd like to be in the library or wherever we're having this. But with the COVID, we can't do that. So we're having something that's viral and on Zoom. And that being said, it's really great to see everybody. And because I know I miss it. We're going to ask you when we get started for everybody to mute themselves other than the person who is going to be speaking. I want to do some thanks first. And it's thanks to the city of Milwaukie and the Letting Library in Milwaukie and the Milwaukie Poetry Committee. So the support from the city has been great. Same thing with the library. The library is not open yet, but they're providing curbside service for people who want to pick up things. Thanks to the Poetry Committee too. So people have been working on this, and we've already met a new member, Jess Stetson, who's going to be my co-host today. And this is the first time we've actually done this on Zoom, so we're asking for everybody's patience. But we're assuming it's going to go just fine. Some other members of the Poetry Committee that are here are our featured readers today, and that's Brett Kelver, Bev Spurgeon, Greg Chamoff, me, and we're joined by Bill Siverly and Carolyn Martin. So thank you, Bill and Carolyn, for joining us. I want to make one announcement too before we start on that, which is about our readings. And our readings are going to go virtual. And so we have a season that we're ready to announce next week. And it's going to involve readings on Zoom. They're going to be live streamed from the Willamette Falls Media Center on the second Wednesday of the month, starting in February. So our first reading is going to be John Sibley Williams, who is going to be reading February 10th at 6:30. And so people can live stream into that. And it's going to be recorded, and it will also be posted on the YouTube network. So people can go back and watch it whenever they want. The readers are going to be, we're having 6 readers, and the readers are going to be the 3 readings that we postponed from last spring, the April, May, and June readings, who are John and Quentin Howlett and Claudia Savage. And then the 3 poets this year that we've invited to fill out the season. We're delighted about that. The new Oregon Poet Laureate, Anis Mojani, Paul Ann, and Emmett. And Paul Ann and Emmett are with us today. So thank you very much for being part of our coming season, both of you. So it's pretty exciting. There'll be a flyer out about it coming in the week with a poster on it. And with that, I think I'll move to our program. And what we're going to do today is hear from our 7 featured readers. We're all here. We're waiting for Susanna Lundgren to join us. And we're going to hear from our featured readers first. They're all going to read 3 or 4 Bill Stafford poems. Then we're going to go to the open mic. And we'll go do the open mic in rounds. So we'll have a first round. And we'll see how much time we have left after the first round. And we have 19 readers in the open mic. So, and I will have a sequence for the open mic readers when we get to that. So let's see who else we have here who we haven't welcomed before I introduce the first featured reader. Carolyn's here. Carolyn Wright. Hello, Carolyn. David Rutizer's here. Jane Merrick. Jane Merrick is here. We have Charlotte Noosley. Hello, Charlotte. They're in Massachusetts. which is, so they're joining us from, I'm not quite sure where in Massachusetts.
We're in the Berkshires right now.
In the Berkshires.
Yeah, and we had 14 years in Ashland, which is how we got introduced to William Stafford.
Okay.
And I had to do a Zoom search. I had to do a Google search and find an event because it's a pang in our heart if we miss our Stafford event.
Well, we're glad you're here.
Thank you for the welcome.
Yeah.
It's my husband, Will.
Hi, Will. And here's my lovely wife.
Hello.
Jane Rickenbaugh.
Hi.
So Jane is going to go and log in because Jane is going to read a poem. She's going to read a poem in the open mic portion of the event. And welcome to Taylor. Welcome to Aiden Wolf. Is that all right? Our featured readers. We're going to go alphabetically. So that means that our first featured reader today is Greg Chamoff. And Greg is a longtime member of the Milwaukie Poetry Series Committee. He was there really from the beginning, and appreciate Greg a lot. A former library board member, former city councilor in Milwaukie, currently on the board of Clackamas Community College, and a poet. His latest book is Everything is Water. And you can see more about Greg at his website. So Greg.
Thank you very much, Tom. Thank you for everybody for being here. Every year when we get to this event, I think, boy, that was a year we really needed the words of William Stafford. And I'm hoping maybe next year I won't feel that way. We always need the words, but it always, at least for the last 4, it seemed particularly cathartic. I have 3 poems for today. One by William Stafford, one by me, and one by Ron Talney. Ron was a special friend and mentor who had been one of our featured readers, and since he can't be here to present his words, I'm trying to keep them alive. First is Security by William Stafford. Tomorrow we'll have an island. Before night, I always find it. Then on to the next island. These places hidden in the day separate and come forward if you beckon. But you have to know they're there before they exist. Sometime there will be a tomorrow without an island. So far, I haven't let that happen. But after I'm gone, others may become faithless and careless. Before them will tumble the wide, unbroken sea, and without any hope, they will stare at the horizon. So to you, friend, I confide my secret. To be a discoverer, you will hold close whatever you find. And after a while, you decide what it is. Then, secure in where you have been, you turn to the open sea and let go. That's William Stafford's Security. This one is one of mine. It's called Quotidian, and it goes like this. Fog above the lambing ground blocks the view from the farmhouse porch to the dead pecan from which the children's swing once hung. She's penned the dogs until the last ewe drops, which could be never if the barking doesn't stop. The dogs remind her of the son who kept her awake with his crying whenever she left him in his room. His one salve, sleeping so close she couldn't turn. Sheep have taught her the violence of birth, the need for faith over reason or truth. Too seldom we're given the chance to learn the death of any beloved thing is a door that shuts without a click. Quotidian. And then Ron Talney's poem, The Cabin in Winter. 1. It could always be like this. Winter and the deep cold invading our lives, wind and the swirls of snow taking their toll. We sit, you and I, husband and wife, father and mother, before the fire, before the altar that is our past. Where do we go? How do we bind these wounds that bind us, prisoners of loss, to a dead child? 2. Now that winter is here, we walk out into the snow, into the deep drifts of silence, up the road, through the forest, to the river. That silence hangs between us. Not silence, really, just the absence of words. It has been years. The seasons click into place their hard time. We do only the simple things. On this mountainside, we draw her breath like a third body into our lungs. We fashion a future out of air, out of memory. It's A Cabin in Winter by Ron Tulney. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you very much, Greg. I'm the next featured reader, and it's been my great good fortune to be connected with the Milwaukie Poetry Series and to get to be the coordinator. And I agree with Greg about needing Bill Stafford's words with everything that's going on. I've been thinking that as I've been reading his work and getting ready for this. So I'm going to read 2 of his poems and finish with one of mine. The first is Why I Am a Poet. My father's gravestone said, I knew it was time. Our house was alive. It moved. It had a song. The singers back home all stood in rows along the railroad line. When the wind came along the track, every neighbor sang. In the last house, I followed the wind. It left the world and went on. We knew, the wind and I, that space ahead of us, the world, like an empty room. I looked back where the sky came down. Some days no train would come. Some birds don't have a song. Why I Am a Poet. I keep a journal. So the next poem I want to read is Keeping a Journal by Bill Stafford. At night, it was easy for me with my little candle to sit late recording what happened that day. Sometimes rain breathing in from the dark would begin softly across the roof and then drum wildly for attention. The candle flame would hunger after each wafting of air. My pen inscribed thin shadows that leaned forward and hurried their lines along the wall. More important than what was recorded, these evenings deepened my life. They framed every event or thought and placed it with care by the others. As time went on, that scribbled wall, even if it stayed blank, became where everything recognized itself and passed into meaning. Keeping a journal. And one of mine that I'd like to share is, thank you for all the blessings. Thank you for all the blessings available constantly. Forgive me that I take many of them for granted, as if they were somehow merited. Let me make a constant effort in the new year, each and every day, like the dike at the Zuiderzee, to prevent another suicide like Rachel's. Let me remember to reach out to people in pain so her death wasn't in vain, though nothing is in the universe. Help me to remember, like the swallows returning Capistrano, that even in sleep, gratitude is graceful. Thank you for all the blessings. I should have said that did reference a friend of mine, Rachel, who is no longer with us, but I think you got that from the poem. So let me introduce our next featured reader, who is Brett Kilber. Brett is a newer member of the Poetry Committee, and he is in the planning department at the city of Milwaukie. So would you welcome Brett Gilbert?
Thank you. Thanks, Tom. Good afternoon, everyone. Glad to see you all here. I would like to read two poems by William Stafford, and then there's a poem I'd like to read that I wrote. But I wanted to start with some words from William Stafford that I found in the process of digging through some of his work that I thought would be a good setup for the things I'd like to read. So this is from a foreword from his collection titled An Oregon Message, and the title of this piece is called Some Notes on Writing. My poems are organically grown, and it is my habit to allow language its own freedom and confidence. The results will sometimes bewilder conservative readers and hearers, especially those who try to control all emergent elements in discourse for the service of predetermined ends. Each poem is a miracle that has been invited to happen. But these words, after they come, you look at what's there. Why these? Why not some calculated, careful contenders? Because these chosen ones must survive as they were made by the reckless impulse of a fallible but susceptible person. I must be willingly fallible in order to deserve a place in the realm where miracles happen. Writing poems is living in that realm. Each poem is a gift, a surprise that emerges as itself and is only later subjected to order and evaluation. Those are some notes on writing, William Stafford, from An Oregon Message. Next, William Stafford's poem from that same collection, An Oregon Message, called Surrounded by Mountains. Digging potatoes east of Sapporo, we would listen at noon to world news. The little radio was in one of the furrows, propped against a lunch bucket. We didn't make any judgments. Our fields were wide, slanting from wooded foothills. Religious leaders called for a revival of spirit in the world. Certain statesmen from important nations were considering a summit meeting. Old Mrs. Osaka, permanently bent over, stirred the clods beside her. Rice fields, yellow as sunflowers, marked off kilometers below us. The shrine where the crows lived had a bell that told us when rest was over. Goodbye, old friends. I remember the Prime Minister talking and the water jar in the shade. That's Surrounded by Mountains by William Stafford. Another Stafford poem called Learning How to Lose. All your years learning how to live to win, how others judge you, who counts, you know it's wrong. But those habits cling that brought you this freedom. You know how to earn it, but you don't now what it is. A friend that you make is conquered like an enemy. Somewhere you'll rest, have faith, even lose sometimes. Accept the way you are. Say easily to the world, leave me alone, hours. I'm just living here. Let now win. That's Learning How to Lose. That poem in particular made me think of a poem that I wrote some time ago about staying in the present, and it's called Oceanside Intersection. I like to be on the beach, at that place where the elements meet, at water's edge, where land disappears, at sundown, in the breeze. I like to stand, arms outstretched, feet planted in sands that shift with the tides. The lowering light comes in long and lifts imagination over waves to glide with pelicans, all of us in line above the rolling surf, flying, fishing, free for as long as the breeze. Oceanside Intersection. Thank you very much. Thanks for the chance to read.
Wow. Thank you very much, Brett. Great choices. So our next featured reader is Susanna Lindgren, if you're here. And I don't actually see Susanna. So we'll move on to Carolyn, our next featured reader. And Carolyn Martin is a lover of gardening and snorkeling, feral cats and backyard birds, writing and photography. Her poems have appeared in more than 125 journals throughout North America, Australia, and the UK. Her first chapbook, Nothing More to Lose, was just released by the Poetry Box in late December. And her fifth poetry collection, A Catalogue of Small Contentments, will appear in August 2021. She is the poetry editor of Cosmos Quarterly, Journal for Global Transformation. Our next featured reader, Carolyn Martin.
Thank you very much, Tom. I'd like to start with a sweet, short poem, tender poem from William Stafford. It is called With Kit, age 7, at the Beach. We would climb the highest dune, from there to gaze and come down. The ocean was performing. We contributed our climb. Waves leapfrogged and came straight out of the storm. What should our gaze mean? Kit waited for me to decide. Standing on such a hill, what would you tell your child? That was an absolute vista. Those waves raced far and cold. How far could you swim, Daddy, in such a storm? As far as was needed, I said, and as I talked, I swam. With Kit, age 7, at the beach. That poem was a segue into another Oregon poem that I wrote, in which another of Stafford's children appear, even obliquely. And that child is Kim Stafford. So this is a poem called Driving to the First Unitarian Church in downtown Portland on a drenching Wednesday morning to attend a workshop with a famous poet, Kim Stafford. After sloshing down stoplight-riddled Grand to find the Morrison, I know I'm lost. Natives say there's logic to this city's grid, but I'm an Easterner who can't detect east from west. Give me left and right with their pure simplicity. They don't need the vagrant sun or quadrants stuck on green street signs I can't translate in ruthless rain. At least I'm dry, I console myself, and wave to crossers crossing against the lights, dodging car sprays and awning drips, guarding Starbucks coffee cups. I'm lost and late. The teacher will be welcoming, I'm sure, and students will sigh relief they were on time. They've occupied their space. I'll blush and have to scrounge for mine. I'm tempted to call it off. Embarrassment isn't worth the price, and splash my way back home. When suddenly, 3 random turns around 3 one-way blocks unearth a parking lot. Grabbing an umbrella, I rummage through my bag for notebook, pen, keys, and phone. To my surprise, stuck between anxiety and distress, images of red taillights, wipers beating double time, puddles hubcap high, and the church's Southwest address. And if we know anything in the Portland area, we know rain, although today belies that statement. So this happens to be another rainy day poem, which takes place on Route 224 from Clackamas to Selwood. The poem is called Migration. On the highway to Milwaukie, Oregon, 10 grown-up geese, unperturbed by the splash of passing cars, are hitchhiking west. Perhaps to the stream behind McGrath's Fish House, or Westmoreland's Lake, or Crystal Springs. Any place would do beyond this 4-lane road, struggling to slough off pounding rain. The leader sticks out her beak and raises her right wing. Her entourage stretches to full height. 3 days of gusty storms, and they'd rather walk than fly. I brake my car 50 feet beyond and blink my hazards on. A window halfway down, I back up to calculate. My 2-door car can fit 3, 4 if they don't mind the squeeze. When they decline to split, family loyalty personified, I drive away smiling to myself. If 4 hopped in, 6 stay behind, which reminds me of a Christmas song about 6 geese doing something somewhere in the English countryside. And finally, I'd like to close with another William Stafford poem that perfectly fits the zeitgeist in this moment of history. The poem is called "To My Young Friends Who Are Afraid." There is a country to cross you will find in the corner of your eye, in the quick slip of your foot. Air far down, a snap that might have caught. And maybe for you, for me, a high-passing voice that finds its way by being afraid. That country is there for us, carried as it is crossed. What you fear will not go away. It will take you into yourself and bless you and keep you. That's the world, and we all live there. Thank you, William Stafford. Thank you, Tom. And that's our world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carolyn.
You're welcome.
That's a great line that you ended with. That's a great ending line in that poem.
Yes.
Yeah. Our next reader is Bill Siverly. And Bill is from Lewiston, Idaho, and has lived in Portland since 1972. He taught literature and creative writing at Portland Community College for 25 years. He's published 6 books of poems, most recently Steptoe Butte, 2013, and Nightfall, 2018. Since 2002, he's been co-editor with Michael McDowell of Windfall, a journal of poetry of place, which features poetry of the Pacific Northwest and appears twice yearly on the equinoxes. We're glad to have you here. Bill.
Here, Tom. I would like to read a poem of William Stafford's first called Objector. One of the things I've always most admired about Stafford is his pacifism, his stance against war, which has appealed to me since I was maybe 16. and the Objector poem, I think, is one of his most startling on the subject. Objector. In line at lunch, I cross my fork and spoon to ward off complicity, the ordered life our leaders have offered us. Thin as a knife, our chance to live depends on such a sign, while others talk, and the Pentagon from the moon is bouncing exact commands. Forget your faith. Be ready for whatever it takes to win. We face annihilation unless all citizens get in line. I bow and cross my fork and spoon somewhere. Other citizens more fearfully bow in a place terrorized by their kind of oppressive state. Our signs both mean, you hostages over there will never be slaughtered by my act. Our vows cross, never to kill and call it fate. In September 2019, when we came back from Germany, I completely revised the way I write poems. I was working with a longer line and a 21 line form, and now I reduced it to 15 lines and very short ones at that. So, and since 2019, I've written about 50 of them. So it suddenly released something, and COVID didn't prevent a production of poetry. So this one I wrote about a year ago, called War Has Been Canceled. Wishful thinking, perhaps, as the Congress just shoveled about $700 billion to the Pentagon. But actually, if you go with the logic of the poem, maybe, just maybe. Or as Stafford said, someday maybe. War has been canceled. I've spent my life opposing war. I marched through San Francisco against the crime in Vietnam. When Nixon bombed Cambodia, I sent my college class to protest, but bombing did not stop. When we ended Southeast Asian war, I dreamed we had prevailed against warmongering powers that be. But empire rises from the grave to wage mayhem by hissing drone in open-ended war awash in blood. Imperial conquest is fatal distraction. Climate change attacks like a sleeper cell. Climate change is coming for us all. And then I'm also a gardener. And I couldn't find very many gardening poems in William Stafford, although Brett just read one about digging potatoes, which impressed me. But here's one that kind of associates with that by William Stafford from Someday Maybe, called Weeds. What's down in the earth comes forth in cold water, in mist at night, in muttering volcanoes that ring oceans, moving strangely at times. And in autumn, all the fields witness forth, power there where roots find it, rooms delve silently and left for the dark to have. Up and down all highways, weed flags proclaim, great is earth our home, as we slip our hand into winters again. Great is earth our home, great is the sky, and great are the weeds in the fields. We celebrate earth and air as we sing in the wind. And one more of my own. This one, again, lighter than the last one, called Winter Beets. And Early Wonders is a type of beet seed. Winter beets. In spring, I plant early wonders that slowly grow summer and fall. I leave them in the ground all winter and harvest 4 or 5 for dinner. Granddaughter says, beets taste like dirt. Her brother hungers for any new food. He claims beets taste good. I tell him they will turn his pea red, but he doesn't believe me. His pea does turn red, and he grins. Granddaughter may yet taste earth in beets. Nothing like beets to garnish a winter table, boiled, peeled, sliced, dash of balsamico, bath of sour cream. Thank you.
Boy, thank you very much, Bill. I appreciate it.
You bet.
That last line of that one poem, climate change is coming for us. That was chilling the first time I saw that, and that's still chilling. So,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Our next featured reader, maybe our last, is Bev Spurgeon. And Bev is a newer member of the Poetry Committee, and she lives in Milwaukie. She's the president of the Rose City Accordion Club and a great accordion player, I might say, and chief editor of the newsletter. She contributes her accordion poems monthly via their Stirrings of the Heart column. She enjoys reading all forms of poetry, finds her challenge in writing haiku. And we know she volunteers on the MPS committee. Bev?
Thank you. Thank you for letting me be here today. And I wanted to tell Paul Ann that I've been envious of you ever since I heard about that you had met William Stafford and that he had come to your school. And I've been thinking about that. It's just been wonderful. And I was thinking about William, that he would have been a wonderful man to have known, just to spend some time with him. His love of nature, the earth and animals, everything. I mean, my goodness, you probably just wanted to hug him all the time. So anyway, on that note, I just wanted to read 4 poems that were written by him. And for me, they kind of come together. It has a lot to do with the earth and animals and us coming all together. And the first one is called Earth Dweller. It was all the clods at once become precious. It was the barn and the shed and the windmill, my hands, the crack Arlie made in the axe handle. Oh, let me stay here humbly, forgotten to rejoice in it all. Let the sun casually rise and set. If I had not found the right place, teach me, for somewhere inside the clods are vaulted mansions. Lines through the barn sing for the saints forever. The shed and windmill rear so glorious the sun shudders like a gong. Now I know why people worship, carry around magic emblems, wake up talking dreams. They teach to their children. The world speaks. The world speaks everything to us. It is our only friend. I really loved that poem, and it kind of led me to the next poem about choosing a dog, because it's love, they say. You touch the right one and a whole half of the universe wakes up, a new half. Some people never find that half, or they neglect it or trade it for money or success, and it dies. The faces of big dogs tell over the years that size is a burden. You enjoy it for a while, but then maintenance gets to you. When I get old, I think I'll keep not a little dog, but a serious dog for the casual drop-in criminal. My kind of dog, impressed by dress or manner, just knowing what's really there by the smell. Your good dogs, some things that they hear they don't really want you to know. It's too grim or ethereal. And sometimes when they look in the fire, they see time going on and someone alone. But they don't do anything. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that beautiful to have a friend that close to you, that he just knows what's going on in your life, but he's just there for you? I love that poem. Thank you. My next poem is Climbing Along the River. Willows never forget how it feels to be young. Do you remember where you came from? Gravel remembers. Even the upper end of the river believes in the ocean. Exactly at midnight yesterday sighs away. What I believe is all animals have one soul. Over the land they love, they crisscross forever. Thank you. My last one is the roll call, and I felt that this particular poem kind of gelled it all together about animal spirits and how that they come together and how that they continue to live. Roll call. Red wolf came and passenger pigeon and dodo bird, all the gone or endangered, came and crowded around in a circle. The bison, the Irish elk, they waited silent. The great white bear, fluid and strong, sliding from the sea, streaming and creeping in the gathering darkness, nose down, bowing to earth its tapered head. Where the black-footed ferret, paws folded, stood in the center, surveying the multitude, and spoke for all of us. Dearly beloved, it said. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bev. Wow. Bill Stafford in the earth and climbing along the river. It's just, and that's a wonderful story about Pauline and him coming to her class back when she was a young teacher. So,
It is.
yeah, it is. So thanks for bringing that up.
Yes.
Let's go to our open mic now. And I have a list of readers for the open mic, and let's go in this order. And it's the order of how I got the emails, how you contacted me. So that would mean we would have Susie Harris, Sue Inowski, Shelley Reese, Carolyn Adams, Moira McAuliffe, Betty Barton, if she's here, Paul Ann, Judith Pearson, Hamish Todd, Willa Schneeberg, Nicole Zeb, Jane Merrick, Fran Adler, Jess Stetson, my lovely wife Jane, who's right here, Emmett Wheatfall, Carolyn Wright, Charlotte Noosley, and David Rutiger. So probably about halfway through, that's a long list, so I'll remind people. And when the person comes ready to read, why don't you unmute yourself and just tell us who you are and a sentence or two about you and intro your poem and then read it. Does that sound like a plan? So we'll work through this and then we'll see where we are time-wise and how everybody feels when we get to everybody reading one poem. So let's start, and that's for those of people on the list who are here. But I know most of you are here. So Susie, are you here? Maybe Susie Harris isn't here. Okay. Well, then we would go to Sue. Sue, Shelley Reese, and Carolyn Adams.
Okay. I'm Sue Inowski, and I chose a Stafford poem called Hummingbirds. I'm very hard to buy birthday gifts for, but this year for my birthday, my daughter wrote it out in her handwriting because it's both of our favorite poems. Hummingbirds. Too small to feel fear, one arrives faster than sight and then hangs, more jewel than bird, at a flower, wings worshiping speed, a blur in the air. Once, picking up one stunned by the glass, I felt that little motor in my hand, a religion that I now knew all the way up my arm, abrupt as the universe was when there was nothing, and God said, go. Sometimes like that, you meet what is real, touched alive, a visit nobody arranged. A day comes, tame you thought, and you dream along, just being you doing a kind act. Suddenly, you have a hummingbird in your hand. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you. Shelley.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
yes, we can.
Yeah.
Sorry. I have but one poem. It's mine, and it has a line of William Stafford's in it. Apologize for that. Letter to William Stafford. Dear Bill, I wish we could talk again the way we did in the Minneapolis airport. I tell you, Frank Boyden made a Neo Stonehenge next to the Willamette, named it the Stafford Stones, and cut words from your poems into the black volcanic basalt. And we'd commiserate that your home on Sunningdale Road has sold. Speaking honestly, I'd say Dorothy aged and broke a bone or two before her heart stopped. When you gave me your skeptical squint, I'd tell you how sturdy she stayed to the last, how she laughed and loved chocolate, how she lived like hope was her middle name. She healed better than anyone could believe, and her bones held till her heart gave way. They sold your old couch, too, couch of 20,000 poems, too big for the front room without you leaning back on it, writing at 4 a.m. and waiting for something to occur in the little mouse nibble of now. I see you there reclining, a pen in your left hand, a sheet of paper ready. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shelley. Carolyn Adams? Is Carolyn here? I don't see her. Moira, are you here, Moira? There you are. Okay.
Thank you. Yes. Yes. So my name is Moira. I live in Portland. I'm the co-founder and co-editor of Gobshite Quarterly. This poem is called Crucifix 1, and it's very much about Bill Stafford's concerns. If you want a forest, you're going to have to pull it out of my feet, out of my skin, out of the veins jumping with exhaustion, out of the hollows of my bones, the chalkiness of them frightening. You're going to have to stand my body on a rock, nail my hands to the wheeling stars, let my tendons turn and twist and knot. Let the wind and standing dark solidify for centuries. Unzip the glue skin around my fingernails, dangle it sidewise in the sun, nick and pluck and pull my chest, back, neck, arms, thighs. Bundle the glimmering collection of ribs that hang now dry as rattles, score them lengthwise, bury them parallel and parallel and parallel, lie me on the earth. Go back in with 12-inch needle nose pliers, cast aside the spleen and liver and calcified mush. Go straight to the cracked black stone of my heart. Rewater and restore it. Warm it with your lips. Hope it still contains the soft, complex stem cell of the world. So that's it.
Wow. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Pauline? Or no, I don't think Betty Barton's here. No. Okay. We hear she's not. Yeah. Well, we have a recording. So, Pauline?
Do we have sound now? Am I coming through?
We can hear you.
Okay, good. Thank you. January, a month to celebrate two American heroes, Martin Luther King Jr., William Stafford. Bill Stafford and Martin Luther King Jr. shared a number of beliefs. each in his own distinct way, bearing witness to those beliefs. Pacifism, civil rights, human equality, justice. For 16, maybe it was 17 years, I organized the January William Stafford birthday celebrations. And it's so wonderful that Milwaukie Poetry Series continues the tradition of those birthday celebrations. And many times in that 16 or 17 years, Dorothy Stafford and I attended the Portland area ones together. One year on MLK Day, at a Stafford celebration held at University of Portland, Dorothy told an anecdote about Bill. When he was 6 in first grade, he came home and told his mother, Ruby, about an incident that had happened at school. A little black girl had been teased mercilessly by some of the children, teased about her high-buttoned shoes. Bill's mother asked him, "What did you do, Billy?" And Bill replied, "Well, I went and stood by her." Standing up, standing beside, bearing witness. Here's one of Bill's poems that tells us about another instance of bearing witness. It's called Serving with Gideon. Now I remember. In our town, the druggist prescribed Coca-Cola mostly in tapered glasses to us and to the elevator man in a paper cup so he could drink it elsewhere because he was black. And now I remember the Legion gambling in the back room, and no women but girls. Old boys who ran the town. They were generous to their sons or the sons of friends. And of course, I was almost one. I remember winter light closing its great blue fist slowly eastward along the street. And the dark then, deep as war, arched over a radio show called The 30s in the great old USA. Look down, stars. I was almost one of the boys. My mother was folding her handkerchief. The library seethed and sparked. Right and wrong art. And carefully, I walked with my cup toward the elevator man. In another poem, Thinking for Berkey, Bill tells us this: we live in an occupied territory, misunderstood. Justice will take us millions of intricate moves. Walking toward the elevator man was one of those million intricate moves. Notice Bill walks with his cup toward the elevator man. Bill chooses literally and figuratively to bear witness with the elevator man, to drink his Coca-Cola out of a cup too. Serving with Gideon is set in the past, maybe the late 20s, early 30s. Almost a century has gone by with people inspired by heroes such as Bill and MLK Jr. and John Lewis and Stacey Abrams, people making those intricate moves. Actually, hundreds of years of those intricate moves have gone by. And finally, enough of those people made enough of those intricate moves. Enough of those people occupied this territory to have elected Barack Obama as our president, to have elected the first Black senator from Georgia since Reconstruction. Hosanna, Hosanna, Hosanna for those moments of justice. And there's much more work to be done. May we keep making those millions of intricate moves. Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Paul, very much. Making those intricate moves. Inspiring. Judith Pearson, Hamish, and then Willa. You going, Shelley?
Sorry, I got so spellbound by all the poetry, I just forgot about muting and unmuting. Hi, I would like to read a very short writing by William Stafford. It's called Footnote. When they captured Ishi, the last wild Indian near Oroville, the Stone Age ended like the end of a film. He thought the handcuffs a bright steel gift. He didn't know anything worth knowing. They gave him 3 cigars a day and a job in a museum. And this brings to mind, I read both books by Theodora Kroeber about Ishi some years ago. And as you probably know, most of you, Theodora Kroeber is the mother of Ursula K. for Kroeber Le Guin. But going along with that, I urge you to read those books because they tell you much more about Ishi. I noticed in Sierra Magazine for January, February of this year, there's a fabulous article here about acknowledging Ishi and by the setting aside of a plot, not more than a plot, probably many acres of land called Ishi, the Ishi Wilderness, that I just really took my breath away. And it's in Lassen National Forest in California. Anyway, glad to be here. I don't know if I have a little bit of time to tell this wonderful story, a true one, anecdotally. Years ago when I lived in Cannon Beach, well, not that many years ago, I was an active volunteer for the little library there. That's all volunteer run. And I was part of a group who were charged with locating and inviting Pacific Northwest authors to speak as part of our Northwest writer series or author series. It was 2018, maybe late May, and we were sitting around brainstorming as to who to ask. And I said, well, Kim Stafford, of course, newly appointed Poet Laureate of Oregon. And they kind of looked at me and said, do you think we can really get him here? And I said, well, let me try. So anyway, we did. We got him. He was there in October of that year. What a not sellout, because we didn't charge. What a bustling crowd there was. People standing outside of the door just to hear him. It was amazing. He gave the most wonderful presentation. And I just wanted to share that with you. I actually met Kim Stafford.
Yeah, thank you very much for sharing that. I bet you had a crowd when they heard that Kim was going to be there, and that's really That's thrilling to see that kind of response too, isn't it?
Oh, fabulous. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thanks for the efforts on that.
Welcome.
I don't think Hamish is here. So Willa?
I'm here.
Willa is here.
I am here. I wasn't actually planning to read, but since I was solicited, I will.
Can you speak up a little louder?
Yes, I was saying I wasn't actually planning to read, but I am happy to. And one of the things that I was thinking about is having the pleasure of knowing Dorothy. You know, I lived for many years very close to Terwilliger, where she was living, and I had the pleasure of taking her to some Stafford events. I remember one particularly in the Pearl. It was, you know, her enthusiasm and passion for life will always be with me. And in the poem that I've chosen to read, thinking about all that Stafford has influenced in terms of his being a conscientious objector, his feelings about war, and his commitment to social justice. I think many of us here know this poem. At the unnational monument along the Canadian border, this is the field where the battle did not happen, where the unknown soldier did not die. This is the field where Grath joined hands, where no monument stands, and the only heroic thing is the sky. Birds fly here without any sound, unfolding their wings across the open. No people killed or were killed on this ground, hallowed by neglect and an air so tame that people celebrate it by forgetting its name. Thank you.
Thank you, Willa. Great choice. Thanks for reading too, even though you didn't plan to. I see Betty Barton's come in, and hello, Betty. We'll take yours. We'll take your poem after David Rutizer. So next would be Nicole. Is Nicole here? I guess not. Jane, Merrick, and Fran, and then Jess.
Hi, folks. Here's Bill. Whoop, can you see? I wanted something that sort of, I don't know, benediction. And many of you might have been also lucky enough to see the comet when it came over last summer. So I spent time looking up at the sky and the stars. This is Touches by William Stafford. Late, you can hear the stars, and beyond them, some kind of quiet other than silence, a deepness the miles make, the way canyons hold their miles back. You are in the earth, and it guides you out where the sun comes. It is the precious world. There are stones too quiet for these days, old ones that belong in the earlier mountains. You put a hand out in the dark of a cave, and the wall waits for your fingers. Cold, that stone tells you all of the years that passed without knowing. You think of caves held in the earth, no mouth, no light. Down there, the years have lost their way. Under your hand, it all steadies. In the world, is the world under your hand? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Fran?
Thank you, Tom. I was going to read the poem about the Unnational Monument, which is one of my very favorites. But I do have a backup because I thought someone else might read that too. So I'm going to read a poem by Kim Stafford about Bill and Dorothy. It's a poem that I read to Dorothy at her 94th birthday celebration. And the last lines of this poem came back to me on Wednesday for some reason during the insurrection. How we came to be. The story goes that our father, a pacifist in the Good War, was held at a camp in the California mountains where a minister brought his pretty daughter to help attract the boys to the Lord. But our father asked her to walk into the hills instead. Evening, the lingering decrescendo of the sun, and the moon hung low. They saw dust along a distant road. One began, I have come upon a stretch of dusky white road. And the other said, drinking up the moonlight beside a blind wall. And both knew the Willa Cather story where this sentence lived. And knowing that, they recognized one another to be kin to the story Two Friends in the book Obscure Destinies. After a few days back home in LA, she sent him a telegram signing it Radiance. And the war censor sent it back to her thinking this code. After long thirst, a draft of perfect good. Imagine you are a man in a war far from home, very poor, maligned, long at a loss. Someone you have just met offers a few consoling words from home. Would you not say, as he did, isn't this the way it should be? Would you not say, as she did, but you don't know if I can cook? And in such coded words, together, they began to knit the world together once again. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Fran, very much. Jess? We're seeing you now.
I'm here. I know I was hiding from you all. I picked a poem that I'm trying to center as of late because I think, like most of us, I'm under a little bit of stress. So this has been helpful for me just to run through my head the last couple of days, especially. It's William Stafford's Just Thinking. Got up on a cool morning, leaned out a window. No cloud, no wind, air that flowers held for a while. Some dove somewhere. Been on probation most of my life, and the rest of my life been condemned. So these moments count for a lot. Peace, you know. Let the bucket of memory down into the well, bring it up. Cool minutes. No one, stirring, no plans, just being there. This is what the whole thing is about.
Thank you very much, Jess. So our next reader is Jane. So she and I are going to trade places.
I'm going to read Smoke. Smoke's way's a good way. Find a rebuffed and gone. A day and a day, the whole world home. Smoke, into the mountains, I guess, a long time ago. Once here, yes, everywhere. Say anything? No. I saw smoke, slow traveler, reluctant but sure. Hesitant sometimes, yes, because that's the way things are. Smoke never doubts, though. Some new move will appear. Wherever you are, there is another door. Thank you.
What?
I got you close to that.
That's okay. So thank you very much, Shane, for being part of this. And Emmett?
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. It's always good to have a feature or a reading open mic in the Bill Stafford celebration. I just thought about the horrific events that took place a couple days ago, the blight and stain on our nation. And so I was looking at Bill Stafford's work from a couple of the books that I have of his. And we should know that William Stafford was a pacifist. And Bill Siverly actually pointed that out earlier. And a pacifist is somebody who objects to war and violence. And in our country, we have what is called a just doctrine, just war theory that gives nations an opportunity to justify going to war or violence. So I looked for a work from Bill Stafford, and I found From the Darkness Around Us is Deep, selected poems of William Stafford, this just gem of a poem. Yeah. And it's called Allegiances. Allegiances. It is time for all the heroes to go home if they have any. Time for all of us common ones to locate ourselves by the real things we live by. Far to the north, or indeed in any direction, strange mountains and creatures have always lurked. Elves, goblins, trolls, and spiders. We encounter them in the dread and wonder. But once we have tasted far streams, touched the gold, found some limit beyond the waterfall, a season changes, and we come back, changed, but safe, quiet, and grateful. Suppose an insane wind holds all the hills while strange beliefs whine at the traveler's ear. We ordinary people can cling to the earth and love where we are sturdy for common things.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Thanks, Emmett.
You're welcome, man.
Carolyn, then Charlotte Noosley, and then David.
Hello, everybody. This Carolyn, there's always a few Carolyns. It was a very common name at one point.
Right.
And thank you very much. Thank you very much for including me. Thank you very much, everybody, for being here. I see several familiar faces and names, and so I'm pleased to be included. I'm going to read one poem by Bill Stafford. This is basically at the start of his time as a conscientious in a war that was very favored, and of course, so he was hated and maligned for a poor, as we know from Kim Stafford's poem, Kim Stafford's work. It's just called 1940, and if you have the way it is, it's on page 225. It is August Your father is walking you to the train for camp and then the war and on out of his life, but you don't know. Little lights along the path glow under their hoods, and your shoes go brown, brown in the brightness till the next interval when they disappear in the shadow. You know they are down there by the crunch of stone and a rustle when they touch a fern. Somewhere above, cicadas arch their gauze of sound all over town. Shivers of summer wind follow across the park and then turn back. You walk on towards September, the depot, the dark, the light, the dark. And if I may, I'm going to read one other short poem. It's also a walk. It's called Heading for Cover, Great Salt Lake, Utah. The salt flats spread out like a widening mind. The moon sits on the water, a cracked plate on a table. In patches, the bare skull of the world shows. At the lake's edge, we head for meager cover. Junipers and boulders split down the middle like heads. Cover us, night. We must depart in secret. Still here, the killdeer's whistle mocks. Everywhere we step, broken sticks talk back in the dark. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carolyn. You're in Seattle too, aren't you?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
This is one of the advantages of Zoom on the upside.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Glad you could join us.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for reaching me in time.
Charlotte, and then David.
We have a ritual after Christmas to spend New Year's Day in Yachats. We did that for about 7 years and celebrated the healing with the Native communities that had been so wronged. And in one of those years, we went to Lincoln City when there was a Stafford poetry reading happening in honor of his birthday. And it was at the library in Lincoln City. And because we attended and we read, they were giving away free books. And so my husband chose this book as our book to take. And one of the books of William Stafford's, is the one we'd like to read. And I've asked my husband, who's who's on a hero's journey. His language part of his brain has been challenged. And so I'd like to ask him to read the first line, the title in the first line, and then I'll pick it up. And the other thing I just want to say is I want to acknowledge how much it means to me to name Martin Luther King with William Stafford in different ways. And just how powerful, Emmett, for me to have your voice here this year in particular. So it's really very touching for me. I found out from my nephew this week that he's very militia-minded, and I had no idea. So it's hits right to the heart, doesn't it? Yeah. Can you see any?
Yeah.
So this is Will.
The poem is Once in the 40s by Reverend Stafford. I can't read it.
Okay, Once in the 40s. We were alone one night on a long road in Montana. This was in winter, a big night, far to the stars. We had hitched, my wife and I, and left our ride at a crossing to go on. Tired and cold, but brave, we trudged along. This, we said, was our life, watched over, allowed to go where we wanted. We said we'd come back sometime. When we got rich, we'd leave the others and find a night like this, whatever we had to give, and no matter how far, to be so happy again. Yay.
Yay. That's right. Yay. Thank you both for connecting and being part of this. It's very.
Oh, it's really powerful. You know, this
Yeah.
William Stafford in Oregon, they have such a dear place in our hearts. So thank you.
Yeah.
We watched the fire start in Ashland.
Ooh.
And we had already decided to move, but climate change was definitely a factor for us.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for being here with us. David?
Yes, hi. Tom and everyone, thank you for having me. And yes, definitely, thank you for the technology. I live in Portland, Oregon, as you know, but I'm visiting friends here in the Coachella Valley, Palm Springs, Palm Desert, so that's where I'm joining you from. This is a poem by Stafford called Noticing. Often a crumb on my plate at the last looks at me. On my tongue like a snowflake, it melts for a while, and splendor discovers itself in this world out of such quiet things. Those times, anything breathed on or thought about, even for an instant, is bread. At the corner, just below the streetlight, there's a branch twisted by the wind. Surrounded by darkness, hardly surviving, that branch waits to wave in its yellow cone when anyone passes and looks up. For years it lives by such notice, eyes and the sun. Strange, things neglected begin to appeal to a part inside us. It is called the soul. These times, it lives on less and less.
Wow. Thank you very much, David. Thanks for being here and connecting with us from Palm Desert, too.
Wow.
So that's great. I see Betty Barton's come in. And Betty, do you want to read a poem? And do we want to take yours now? Here, I'll ask you to unmute.
What? Oh, sorry.
And let's see if we can get your video on.
No, thank you. I'm just here to listen.
Okay?
Thank you.
All
Thank you
right.
so much.
Okay. Well, thank you for being here.
It's lovely to. I owe to all the Sue Ainowski.
Yeah. So is there anybody that is here and has not read a poem that would like to read a poem? Because I know there are some people that are here who haven't read. Okay. Then we're at 3:30. What's everybody's pleasure? We've gone one round with the open mic. Do we think that an hour and a half is enough of Zoom? Okay. I'm seeing lots of nods. Okay. It's, on one hand, it's great to keep hearing the poems. And this has been a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you.
Yeah, and it's nice just to spend time with everybody. Even though it's virtual, it's not the same thing as actually being together, but seeing your faces and your backgrounds is a connection. So, okay. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for participating,
Thank you, Tom.
being part of this.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay,
Thank you.
you can
Thanks,
unmute
Ed.
yourself.
Nice to meet everybody that whom I have not met before, and it's great.
Yeah. Okay. Bye, Carolyn.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye,
Thanks,
Carolyn.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you. Be in touch. Thanks so
Thanks,
much.
Bill. Thanks, Huda.
Good to see you.
Everybody
all.
stay safe
Okay.
and
Bye,
healthy.
Betty. Glad you made it.
Pauline.
Bye now.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for what you contributed, Pauline.
The timing of this
Thank
was
you.
perfect.
Oh,
Thank
yeah.
you so much.
And we have so much going on now.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's such a bomb to last Wednesday.
Yes.
Yeah.
The
Yes.
poetry, Stafford's poetry, is such a gathering place after such a horrible day.
Yeah. That
We
was
didn't
not-
get a chance. We didn't get a chance to touch on COVID, but just remember all of the hundreds of thousands of Americans that have died of this, and how we need to do what's necessary to stay healthy and
Yeah.
get this disease back. Right, that's
You know-
really critical.
Yes.
This touched my family, and I am definitely aware of this. And so I hope all the rest of you can stay safe and stay healthy.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank you, Bill.
Stay safe, stay healthy,
Thank
wear
you,
our,
Bill.
wear our
Yes.
masks,
Yes, yes.
tell other people about it, even though that's a challenge sometimes.
Is it possible to get on an email list, like if you're going to do more virtual events?
We are going to do and that was my plan, is to put everybody who emailed about this event that's not on our list on the list.
That would be good. Yeah, I'd be
So I
pleased
think,
to be.
yeah, because there are a few people here who are not on the list, but we will do that. And for the city website, when that happens, you should get a confirmation from them that that's the case. So stay healthy. Stay healthy.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Thomas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tom, for all your work.
Yes, thanks so
You're
much.
welcome from my end, and thanks to the committee. Thanks, Brett, and thanks, Jess, for being the co-host today. So that was a big help. Yeah. So that worked. Okay, everybody. Take care.
Okay.
Take care back there
Bye-bye.
in Massachusetts.
All
Okay. Bye bye,
Good to see you
everybody.
all.
now.
Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
All the
Bye.
best. Stay safe. Stay strong. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye bye.